Another beautiful Tuesday morning right here on Dominion Television, your channel of choice. This is Dominion Sports, where we take you on a journey into the world of sport from the local front to the European scene. We give you update from Formula One, basketball, rugby, cricket, tennis, all this and more on the show. I am Paul Abe Toluwanemi. Definitely, I'm not alone in the studio. I have the expert analyst himself, Samson Balogun, popularly known as the official captain himself, ready to give his own 2 cents on the conversations in the world of sports this wonderful morning. Top of the morning to you, Samson Balogun. How are you feeling?
Well, a beautiful morning to you, Toluwanemi. It's really nice to be back here to talk sports. This is what we do, bring you unbiased analysis and undiluted reportage. And today is not an exception. There's a lot to talk about, ranging from games that happened yesterday. Shooting Stars, as predicted, slumped to a 1-0 defeat against Nasarawa United. And the most amazing of them all, that's the Bendel Insurance, getting a victory away from home. You know, I predicted that you look, if you must make a statement, you start by, claiming the scalp of some of the big guns in the league, and that eventually happened yesterday. The Bendel Insurance are here to make a statement with Coach Kennedy Boboye in the team at the helm of affairs. You would definitely learn that a lot would happen, and it's happening already. If this away victory can transcend into what you will call a momentum, and a run of maybe 4, 5, 6 games without a defeat, that would mean a lot for them leaving that current position, which is in the relegation zone. So, congratulations to Bendel Insurance. That was a big win away from home, and that says a lot about how consistent the coach is trying to build, a team formidable enough to actually stay away from the relegation waters.
All right, Samson Balogun has opened up the show already, speaking about Bendel Insurance. But another game went down yesterday at the Lafayette Stadium, and Nasarawa United you have picked up a victory all to the point against the Shooting Star Football Club. Let's look at just looking at the pictures right there on the screen. Samson Balogun already said it's going to be a difficult one yesterday when he was analyzing the game right there, and it happened. Nasarawa United are now on top of the log of the table right there in the MPFL.
Well, obviously they were going to lose that game. It was so obvious. Nasarawa United are the table toppers. They are right there in the top 2, top 3, and they have been consistent with that in the last 10 games or thereabout. That shows that they have proven that there is a level of construction of intent going into what they've been doing so far. They've constructively created an atmosphere where people now believe that there's a chance Nasarawa United is definitely or most likely going to win the league. Yes, they have faced stiff competition, especially with Ikorodu City showing intent. Rivers United, if not for the fact that they have had to shelve some of their games to play on the continent, they have also showed a little bit of intent. Abia Warriors, too, one way or the other, they have also showed intent so far this season. But for me, I think I give kudos to Nasarawa United. Solid team, fantastic one. Anas Yusuf was the top scorer last season. He's not doing too badly this season, even though if you look at the top goal scorers chart this season, it has not been that what you would call a spray of goals for some of the top strikers in the league. I think the top scorer now, 2 of them, which Rabiu Ali is also part of them. I think they are on 6 goals.
Yes, 6 goals. Another one also from Kun Khalifa.
They are on 6 goals out of I think 14, 15 games. That says a lot about how goals has dried up for top strikers in the league this season. And I've always said it that there's been a famine when it comes to goal scoring in the league this season. Most of the teams would rather play 2 goals to 1 goal, or maybe sometimes a 0-0 draw, 1-0 draw. We have not really seen too many of games where you see 3-0, 4-0 victories, or maybe 3-1, 3-2. So we have not seen harvest of goals. But maybe towards the next stanza of the league, maybe we are going to have that. But as it stands, it is what it is. But you would really want some teams like Nasarawa United to do more, and that's what they are doing. Unfortunately, Shooting Stars had to be on the other hand of results. They lost that one. You would expect them to get a victory in that game, but then playing against a team like Nasarawa United comes with a risk, comes with you have to pay your dues, and they really could not do anything in that game. So it's really painful for Shooting Stars fans. But hey, that's how to lose against a potential champion. I mean, the margin doesn't have to be that much. I predicted yesterday that it might likely end in a 2-1 defeat. But then the only thing that played out was the fact that Shooting Stars are struggling to score goals, whether at home or away. It is still showing. I mean, that's for me is alarming. But then, all in all, one thing was quite clear. they played their hearts out. They just couldn't get the kind of victory they deserved.
Agree. All right, just looking at the screen right now, this how the game panned out. The highlight came from that one at the Lafayette Stadium. But let's have the table. What's the table looking like right about time in the NPFL after match day 16? Let's look at who are topping the table and who are not, picking up result. There you have it. The result from Sunday down to Monday. Katsina United against Benden Insurance. The game ended 1-0 in favor of Benden Insurance, and also Nasarawa United picking up a victory against Shooting Stars. Let's look at the table quickly. Let's look at it.
Judging by what happened over the weekend, they were able to get what you call a victory over the weekend. That says that if they, I have always said that if they can maintain a momentum of maybe 2, 3, 4 games, that will put them in a very good space. At least to climb out of that relegation zone. And as it stands, they are on 12 points, if not because they were docked 3 points earlier in the season because of the fracas that happened in their game against Shooting Stars in Kano. Maybe right now they'll be on 15 points, just 2 points behind Barao FC. And that says that in the next 1 or 2 games, they'll be out of the relegation zone. But that's still a possibility right now. I think they should just maintain the momentum. They have won a game. They should continue winning games and see where they will end up come the end of the season. But for other teams, Plateau United, it's really sad that we have not seen them do too much. We have not really seen them being consistent. They've got some quality players like Monday Gideon and some other players in that team. And you would really expect them to actually be able to gather a little bit of pace in the league and maybe win a few games. They have either lost, draw, or
9 losses already.
No draw this season. 9 losses. It's either they win or they actually draw. And they have been able to lose 9 games and won 6. 6 victories on a good day. 6 victories for you says a lot about what you've been able to do. But how many of those victories have come away from home? That's a critical analysis you have to do. So if you have played 16 games, or thereabouts, 15, they have an outstanding game.
Rivers United.
If you have played that amount of games and you have just 6 victories, how many of your victories come away from home? Then you can think of, I think most of these teams, they just look at the points, they look at the number of losses, they look at the number of victories. They are not breaking it down into how well are we doing away, how well are we doing at home, how many goals have we been able to score away from home, how many goals have we been able to score at home. Then you do an holistic analysis of what your team looks like when you travel. So if you know that your weak point is when you travel, you might just adjust your team a little bit, because I understand most of the teams, because they are traveling long distance, especially by road, they rotate their squad. They put in maybe some of their weak legs in the team when they travel. That should not be the case. You could actually do some risking when you play at home. You risk it a little bit to see where that pans out. Maybe 1 or 2 of your players will rest, and then you play some of your best legs too away from home to see how well you can, at least get points away from home. But most of us will now do an analysis, and then it's just about, we have been able to play 6 games. We won 6 games, we won this, we did that. Do you do, a breakdown of what your performance looks like? How many chances are you able to create in the first half? How many of that do you create in the second half? Are you weak in the second half? Are you strong in the first half? So, how many chances do you convert when you play in the second half? How many goals do you score in the first 20 minutes of the game?
How many teams are doing this is the question, Samson Balogun, because, right now you're talking like a match analyst at this point in time, and the question is, how many of them are doing this approach that you are laying down at this point in time?
You see, most of the coaches will just do 90 minutes. We have played 90 minutes and that's all.
That's all. I'll come back again for training.
Within 90 minutes, there are about 1,000 analysis you can do within the space of 90 minutes. How many throw-ins do you get? How many corner kicks? And of those corner kicks, how many of them actually get to your players in the opposition box? You have to do an analysis so you can know if the taker has to be changed or if the approach to taking the free kick has to be changed. So these things they are not rocket science. They can be done. People think you need maybe an SPSS software, statistical package for social sciences software to get it done. But not necessarily. Actually, just by watching the analysis, the highlight of the game, you could tell where your game. Most of these teams record their games.
How many teams have a match analyst actually?
My own problem is the fact that most of these teams will now release the highlight of their game maybe second or third day after the game had been played. Says a lot about what is going on. You would want to watch Shooting Stars, Remo Stars, and it will be maybe 6 or 7 hours after the game. But then if you check the EPL, 30 minutes after the game, the highlight is out, because as the game progresses, they are already taking clips that are most likely going to be in the highlights. And then in 30 minutes, it has been, packaged, it has been exported. You find it on their Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and you're already seeing the highlights. Oh, we missed so chances. It is already there. But then here, I think we are still a little bit rigid about how things are being done, and that really should be corrected. I mean, we don't have to spend too much to get some of the results we want to get. But then, this is the MPFL. Anyway, things do happen. Let's see if going forward we can make some changes.
All right, so let's see if going forward we can make some changes. There you have it in the MPFL. I will be giving you more updates as the show, continues. But let's move away from that. Let's talk about the Super Eagles of Nigeria as at this point in time. Hashtag let's do it again. Samson Balogun, can we do it again is the question. Super Eagles face Egypt in the pre-AFCON clash on December the 16th. Nigeria Super Eagles meet Egypt Pharaohs at the Cairo International Stadium on Tuesday at December 16 at 7 p.m. Nigerian time. The date shifted from December 14 due to the FIFA's players release rules allowing clubs to hold stars until the 15th of December before AFCON starts in Morocco. On the 21st of December, Nigeria chased a continental success in the Group C after missing out from the World Cup, reviving the 2-1 win over Egypt from the 2022 AFCON. NFF called it a vital preparation for final tweak before heading to camp. Something about to go. There you have it. This is the only preparation we have ahead of the AFCON, and I'm sure something is sticking in my mind, and I'm wondering, why do we not still have the list out yet for the AFCON? Santi Balogun, we got the report yesterday that Uganda in our group already have arrived Morocco at this point in time, and yet we don't have this is list of the players going to the AFCON at this point in time and our practice section. How do you see all this with the hashtag let's do it again? Can we do it again with the preparations and these things we are having going forward for the Super Eagles?
Well, I think that tagline is closer to being a joke than being reality. You see, I think in Ivory Coast too, we used almost the same tagline, and unfortunately we could not do it again. We lost that one. And there are calls from all corners to do it again this time. We cannot take anything away from Eric Shells as a coach. He tried so much with his former team, Mali. Almost got to the final, but he crashed out eventually. You could see the passion in his face when they conceded that goal. It broke down, and probably that was one of the reasons most people saw him as a coach with a winning mentality, and they would want to work with him, because the Super Eagles job was not the first job he got when he left the Malian national team. So I think we have the prospects. It's something that could be done, but will it be achievable? I don't think so. Let's look at how the arrangement is as it stands. Only the coach knows what his team looks like in his mind. But on paper, nobody knows anything. He knows the likely players that will be in his 23-man squad going into the AFCON. But unfortunately, they now had to release team list of about 54 players, which originally what you could have done is to announce your players and then maybe put about 10 of them on the list of maybe if as contingency plan anyway, maybe if anything happens, you can call on this particular player to be a replacement to some of the players in the main team. But unfortunately, they have created more problems than finding a solution. Bringing 54 players into a team list. At least by now, if you are going to the AFCON, you should know. I mean, we are just about 2 or 3 weeks away, less than 3 weeks away. You should know where you are when it comes to the team sheet. I'm traveling. You are when it comes to the team sheet. I'm traveling. You sent something to me overnight about Amos Obasogie. Finally, you knew the club he plays for keeper, arguably the best in the MPFL in the last 3, 4, 5 seasons. And then you have someone like Mustafa Lawal, Spider, who has been with Shooting Stars for 2 seasons now. Was there last season, is there again this season, has been an amazing goalkeeper. Was there last season, is there again this season, has been an amazing goalkeeper. And I can mention on and on and mention about 5 of them who are playing top level football in the MPFL But then, guess what? You will find an Amas Obasogie in that team rather than get any of these players in the Super Eagles team. And what is the case? What exactly? You see, sometimes you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt why a certain player is there ahead of other players. But in Nigeria, it's about the list is out. Whether you like it or not, you have to take it or you leave it. But then Nigerians have always learned to leave it. They just forget about it. It's only in Nigeria where decisions are made and it cannot be forget about it. It's only in Nigeria where decisions are made and it cannot be questioned. Now, if you look at the game against Egypt, most Nigerians will not be interested because they see it as a dud rubber game because they lost the chance to play at the Mondial. So many people might not be interested, but it's a tune-up game ahead of the AFCON. It is absolutely necessary. Most teams are already doing that already. The team Bs of some countries have already been assembled and they're already doing test practice and practice games. Relax, and the foreign nationals will now come in later to join them, and then they see who are fit enough to play at the AFCON. So it's not just about being fit. It's about, are you in form? Are you in the mental state to represent your country? There was, I think that was 2 weeks ago, a Barcelona player, I think Ronald Araujo, told the team, look, I'm not in the best frame of mind to play for you right now. They gave him a week off, and just last week it was extended by I think another 1 or 2 weeks. That it still feels he's not ready to be back, and then he has been given the break. We have seen so many players like that who took time off to say, look, I think I have to be with my family now. I think I need a personal space. Some of these players, you see, it's only in Africa that we think that if you have the opportunity to represent your national team, it's a do or die affair. You just have to be there at all times. If you are not fit, if you are not mentally fit, if you are not in the form of your life, you can easily excuse yourself. I don't think I am the best face to represent my country now. But here, you just have to be there at all times. And for me, I don't think it's just about the money. I think there are a lot of things involved. Some of these players want to gather maybe enough national team call-ups to do 1 or 2 things. We have seen cases of Benjamin Fredericks, who was signed by Brentford, but he couldn't play because you have to play a certain number of games for your national team before you can be registered in the APL. So we don't want them to gamble with the national team. We want to always present our best. We've seen this happen before during the era of the Atlanta 96. When it works, that you now see why it was done. But if it doesn't, the blame goes to the coach, and it will not be in the best place to come and tell you, oh, this is why I made this decision. So the reason I went to this particular angle is that let's now let's assume that we now understand why the coach has decided to do this, to name 54 players and say, look, we are still going to prune it down. But then it has to be justified at the end of the day. Otherwise, I will go back to what I said earlier, that it was a complete waste of time. Waste of resources. 54. How many players do you need for the AFCON?
I'm really awaiting.
But the game is against Egypt is a high-profile African game where you test your might ahead of the tournament. You want to know how good is your team technically, tactically, and then what level of coherence do you think the players will be needing going to the tournament? At least they see for themselves what they can do to improve. If you play against minors, you might not really see where the team lacks, because definitely it will be business as usual. But then against a team like Egypt, I mean, you are rest assured that you are playing an A game on the African continent.
I agree with you. All right, like you said, we'll be giving more updates about the AFCON as the show unfolds. But let's move away from that. Still in the camp of the Super Eagles. Super Eagles face injury crisis ahead of AFCON in Morocco. 29-year-old Chippa United goalkeeper has not played for its club since Nigeria's World Cup qualifier last month. Missing 3 league games while recovering drags on. His hand requires surgery after aggravation in Morocco. And with defender Benjamin Frederick out long-term and captain William Troost-Ekong retired, the team feels that the strain William Nwabali remains in the 54-man professional squad leads under coach Eric Shells. But the final court looms before December 21st starts. Nigeria's kickoff Group C game against Tanzania on the 23rd of December. And it's doubtful that Stanley Nwabali will be part of the list for the Super Eagles of Nigeria?
Well, I think it will be a great miss. When I saw the press release by Vuzimuzi Valakazi, he made some statements about the fact that even him, who happens to be the head coach of the team, still doubts the extent of the injury, and that if he is in that state, his head coach at Chippa United is in that state. How much more of the Nigerian head coach, who is not even a part of their technical crew, so they are just watching from afar and monitoring the situation. Well, I think it's going to be a big miss, because a goalkeeper of his frame with his quality, is what the Super Eagles currently needs at this time, with a level of seriousness anyway. Because sometimes he loses his cool, loses his head in some games. You question his professionalism on the field of play. But then in Maduka Okoye, Sobasoge, we have replacements. But the only thing I cannot guarantee you is that if we have able replacement in these two goalkeepers. But then if you check around the world, I think we'll have players like goalkeepers like Adebayo Adeleye, who can also come in and be a fantastic goalkeeper. Francis is also in the provisional squad, and it's really, well, judging by how he was unceremoniously pushed out of the first 11 and the national team, you wouldn't actually push him to be in the starting 11 for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He was error reading while he was the number one for the Super Eagles. Sometimes he makes some mistakes and you shake your head like, oh, even me, I might probably be able to do better. But the way he addressed some of his errors, really speaks about how rude and condescending he can be as a goalkeeper, as a player. Anyway, because there was a time he told someone on social media, if you're easy, run and make Oyinbo sign you. I mean, that's why someone told me, I was complaining about a player day before yesterday, and someone said, oh, can you do it the way he does it? I said, that's why I'm not a player. That's why I'm a broadcaster. So if you can also do my broadcast duty job, the way I do it, then you should expect me to do his job the way he does it. So that's why we chose different fields. So I do what I do. He does what he does. So I have the right to question what he brings to the table if it is not enough. And also, going forward, he probably has a little bit of right to say, oh, he's not doing it the way I should, provided you understand what I do. But for me, I think, I feel I know what he does. I understand the technicality behind what he does. So I can question what he does if it's not within the frame or scope of what is expected of him. So I don't think we have replacement for Nwabali. As unruly can be, in goal, and sometimes he makes a little bit of mistakes, loses his cool, loses his head on the field. But I still think that right now, with those we have seen, right, goalkeepers we have on the table, especially in the list released by the coach, I think he's still the best. And if for any reason he cannot be a part of the AFCON, I think we are going to have a little bit of issues, right? Because he's used to the back line, right? Bringing a new goalkeeper with a different communication method might be a little bit of difficulty. I mean, he has that frame to shout, and Calvin Bassey will look back. He has that frame to shout, and Semilogo Ajayi will look back and say, oh, what exactly is the problem? But do you see Amas Obashu just shouting and Calvin Bassey will respond? Well, that's a question to answer only when they play together.
All right, let's see how that one's going to pan out right there for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Definitely, I will be giving you more update from the camp of the Super Eagles. Let's move away from that swiftly because of our time. Let's talk about Mohamed Salah. Yesterday, we were supposed to talk about that story, but we have to talk about it today because so much has surrounded the situation. And Slot spoke yesterday, saying most likely he might not be part of the team again. He cannot say for sure, and currently is not with the squad, playing the game against Inter Milan. Now let's go back to the story that happened over the weekend against Leeds United. The game ended in a draw, and Mohamed Salah had so much to say, and he came outside saying he feels just thrown under the bus by Liverpool as just revealed his relationship with the head coach and Slot has broken down. Salah believes he has made a scapegoat for Liverpool's struggles this season, insisting someone does not want me in the club. It seems like the club has thrown me under the bus, and this is how I am feeling. I think it is very clear that someone wanted me to get out of the blame. I said many times before that I had a good relationship with the manager, and all of a sudden we don't have any relationship. I don't know why, but it seems to me, how I see it, that somebody does not want me in the club. Samson Balogun, after the statement, he went on to say so much again. He had to use Harry Kane as an example, as saying there was a certain time, Harry Kane went 10 games, without a goal, and nothing was said about it then. But if it is Mohamed Salah, there is a problem. He apologized after that statement. He popped up again saying so much about what the situation is, calling out Jimmy Carragher, Michael Owen coming out. It looks like there's a racist chant now. A certain Liverpool legend, so to say, because you can put Mohamed Salah among when you rank Ian Rush, Kenny Dalglish. Mohamed Salah follows through because he has broken records of the likes of Steven Gerrard, Fernando Torres. You can go on and on to mention names, but currently a player like Mohamed Salah was given to and through to Liverpool is being treated this way. Are there questions why maybe he spoke too early to the media? There are certain ways you control your emotions, or should they be treated this way? With Liverpool.
Well, I think both parties will have to share, have a portion of the blame.
Okay, so what blame are you giving each party?
Yeah, for Mohamed Salah, I think it was too early. You addressed that issue from the wrong direction, and even when it was looking like that. I think he should have kept his cool a little bit before he voiced out, but it was quite too early, and the club are capitalizing on what he said to actually punish him. So there are punitive measures as regards that. But unfortunately, Liverpool is a team that most of the times, especially when you are not English, whatever it is you have done for the club, regardless of the situation, you might not really, get the kind of accolade you deserve when you are leaving. I will cite two instances. When Fernando Torres came to England, his destination was practically not Liverpool in the first place, but eventually he signed up with Liverpool, played well, but he got a deal to play for his dream move, to make his dream move to Chelsea at that time. And then the next thing they did, instead of idolizing or maybe just sending a farewell message to him, was to burn his jersey outside Anfield. And that was one of the reasons. Mentally, Fernando Torres broke down, and it affected his move to Chelsea. In fact, until he scored that goal against Barcelona, too many people really did not reckon with Fernando Torres at Chelsea, and it affected his performance too. The same thing, Mohamed Salah's jersey has been burned at Anfield. The same thing is happening now. I mean, a repeat of what happened a few years ago, just about 15 years or thereabouts in difference. So I think it's becoming more and more of a repeated issue scenario for Liverpool. And most of the times, if you look at, Jose Mourinho said something about Jamie Carragher. You see, some players who really did not do too well professionally. And they find their way into the studio to become pundits. Sometimes when they spew their nonsense, you begin to wonder what exactly this guy is saying. Jamie Carragher, for example, is a player who never smelled the English Premier League. And he played for Liverpool for how many years? About 17 or 18 years before he retired. Never for once won the English Premier League. How about, I mean, one of the players I cherished so much in that generation was Steven Gerrard. Till today, nobody has heard about Steven Gerrard. He has gone about his daily business. He's got jobs as a coach and then moved on to Scotland and to other places. But have you heard about him talking nonsense about some players at Liverpool? I think no. Because he also got his fair share of blames because he slipped, and then Demba took that ball from him and then scored a goal that ended their chances of winning the league at the time. People blame Liverpool fans. Despite all he gave to the club, they blamed him for not winning the title just because he slipped, which could have happened to anyone. That has happened before to some other players too. So for Liverpool, I think I've not really seen too many times where Liverpool celebrate their icons. I've not really seen too many of that. In fact, the likes of Kenny Dalglish, they were only celebrated the moment they came back as a coach and then did something really nice. How many times have they mentioned Ian Rush? How many pictures of Ian Rush do you see on the walls at Anfield? How many that of Kenny Dalglish, except for the places where he lifted the trophy? How many of that have you seen at Anfield? So I think it's a traditional thing, right?
Liverpool.
I think it's becoming traditional. If you check Chelsea, for example, even players that did not do so well. I mean, let me break it down a little bit. When it comes to goal scoring ability and the likes, I don't think John Obi Mikel ranks in the set of players you would call players who did so well for Chelsea in terms of scoring goals. Yes, he was a DM, a defensive midfielder, but hey, till tomorrow, if Chelsea will write Obi Mikel's name, they will put Chelsea legend, John Obi Mikel, right? Claude Makelele spent how many years at Chelsea? Till tomorrow, they will write Chelsea legend, Claude Makelele. In fact, the glory days for Claude Makelele was played in other clubs. He only came to Chelsea and still did a little bit of busy, and then, then, till tomorrow, he's being recognized as a Chelsea legend. How about Solomon Kalou? Someone that you would not really would have rated so much. He's being rated as a legend at Chelsea. How about Joe Cole? He's being rated as a legend at Chelsea. They still rate him as one of their best, even though what you would call an average career at Chelsea is now being tagged as one of the best for Chelsea. That's how they have an assignment. They understand the assignment, and that's what they do. So if you compare these two things at Liverpool, I've just mentioned Obi Mikel, who did not score too many goals. How about Didier Drogba, who till tomorrow will receive a standing ovation if he gets to Chelsea? I'm just talking about African players. Right? I've not even spoken about the likes of John Terry, Frank Lampard, and the likes who actually did so well for Chelsea. Till tomorrow, Frank Lampard is still the highest goal scorer for Chelsea. Is still the highest goal scoring midfielder in the history of English Premier League. No player comes close as a midfielder. So how would you not rate those players as your best? But for Liverpool, for whatever it is Mo Salah has done, even if made some scathing comments in the press, I think sometimes teams would help you. They will rebrand you just because they don't want to go like a player who will not be celebrated. And the way, as it stands, Mohamed Salah would definitely leave Liverpool unceremoniously. And that for me breaks my heart because he gave his all. This was a player that was pushed out of Chelsea, went to AS Roma, and against all odds came back to England and scored against a Chelsea team that he left and became a legend.
I was speaking to some fans of Liverpool. I mean, not Liverpool, I mean some football fans, and they were saying, if Liverpool had to pick their own Messi, Mohamed Salah was their Messi. It was the Ronaldo. He single-handedly, gave, this club their trophies, Champions League. You look at, not taking anything away from the trio at that time, Bobby Firmino, Sadio Mane, and Mohamed Salah. But look at what Mohamed Salah was able to contribute. Now, let's go back to why was he being benched? They said maybe it was out of form. But something about you look at some players also that were out of form. If I'm to put some people on the bench, I'm putting Ibrahim Konate on the bench. I'm putting Van Dijk on the bench. I have so many players to put on the bench. But why is this? Why Mohamed Salah, not the sacrificial lamb, taking all this blame at the end of the day, suffering for it?
You see, I don't blame Liverpool for what is happening to Mohamed Salah. It's racism now. I'm not saying per se that it is racism, but I don't blame them. You know why? Mohamed Salah had a chance to leave last season.
Yeah, that so many talks about
that. There's a saying that says you leave while the ovation is loudest. He had the opportunity. You won the league. You bow out at that moment. Look at Kevin De Bruyne at Manchester City. He knew that if Care is not taking the end is there, and he was probably going to end up on the bench. So immediately he came back from injury, played the final games. He told them, look, I am not playing for you next season. And he chose the right path out of the team. He's now being celebrated as a Napoli player. That says a lot about you knowing. You see, there's a difference between you on the... I think Mohamed Salah failed to read the room. He should have understood this was the perfect way.
I think he was chasing personal achievements.
He
wanted to finish.
He wanted to finish what he started. But sometimes, some things are just better left undone. It would make more sense if you fail to do them than when you do them and it still does not make sense to anybody, right? So he had 2 seasons ago, he was to leave. He was given a new contract, more money, he stayed. Last season, he stayed back, won the league. Nothing stops you from walking away.
Saudi Arabia came with so much offer.
You might not really go to Saudi Arabia. You could go back to Italian Serie A. Kevin De Bruyne is doing fine in Italy. Look at Scott McTominay, for example, a rejected player at Manchester United. See what he has been able to do at Napoli. Okay, let's talk about Rasmus Hojlund, who left Manchester United as one of the poorest strikers you have in the EPL. Look at how many goals he's been able to score in the Italian Serie A. So for me, I think players should know how to pick their moments because football is about moments. Once you fail to recognize those moments, you end up like Mohamed Salah and like so many other players who failed to. We have seen players who did so well and then 2-3 years down the line, you're already on the bench. I mean, and you had offers to leave. So why are you still in that club for crying out loud? Some will talk about loyalty, but as a football player, there's nothing like loyalty. The person who has the fattest check. Before we go on this particular one, Oscar was a Chelsea player, right? He was tagged to be one of the three musketeers: Wamata, Oscar, and then Eden Hazard at the time. They were mesmerizing midfielders and attackers. You know, they were dazzling. You know, creating problems in the EPL. And then one day, Oscar woke up and said, "Look, I'm going to China." And people were asking questions. As young as you are, 23 or 24 at the time, why are you heading for China? He said, I come from a very poor background. And I don't want to quit football going back to the same background. So, for whatever reason, even for trophies, I'm sacrificing all of that for the greater good. So, he's not being selfish. He knew what he came to. People have several reasons for playing football. And for Oscar, it was all about the money. Family. And he's been able to do it. And so I think he was on an interview with Mikel's podcast recently and said, look, if he still has to come back to Europe to play football and enjoy, he can still come. But now he has achieved what he set out to achieve. So Mohamed Salah probably was over-ambitious. And when you are over-ambitious, sometimes you end up not achieving anything. Now, whatever it is he has achieved with Liverpool is stylishly being pushed into the bin. And that, for me, breaks my heart. That should not happen.
That should not happen. What a way to go. And I don't know, maybe just pick out this word. I think it's best to leave when your vision is still extremely loud.
It's not just about football, it's everywhere. You read the room and realize, I think it is best for me to leave at this time, and then you walk away.
I agree. All right, let's move away from that quickly. The UEFA Champions League is upon us tonight. Fantastic game popping up right there. We can have it displayed on the screen. It's going to be a fantastic one. But let's talk about Atlanta against Chelsea quickly. Something about how do you see that one on Inter Milan against Liverpool?
Well, I think it's going to be a struggle for Chelsea. Don't forget that it's not been that rosy for them in the Champions League 2 seasons. Yes, they have been able to grab a few victories, but they are still not ranked among the top 5, top 6 teams in the Champions League phase in terms of performance so far. And do not forget that Enzo Maresca will always do an Enzo Maresca in this kind of game. Definitely, there are still going to be rotations. Some of the key players will have to find themselves on the bench, and then this might just end in another disaster, just like the last game in the EPL. But then, I think the most important thing is that Chelsea fans enjoy what they pay for, and if they fail to qualify in the automatic qualification series, they can easily go play the round robin and then play.
For you, Inter Milan against Liverpool, that game, do you think is going to be a stroll in the park for Inter Milan with this?
I don't think it's going to be a stroll in the park for Liverpool, for Inter Milan. I just see that there might be a lot of goals in this game. Maybe 3, 4, 5 goals in this particular game. Might end up being a thriller. But for Inter Milan too, they have been solid in the Champions League. But if you check them in the league, they've conceded a few goals. And I think Liverpool has the quality of players that can make them concede. And then maybe Inter will score more, but then Liverpool will also have an edge in this game.
All right, those are the games that are popping up this weekend in the UEFA Champions League. Bayern Munich also against Sporting CP. So why don't go to the comment section right now on YouTube, drop your comments right there and your predictions, and let's know what you think. And if you stand out to win 5 of the correct predictions, well, I'm yet to see somebody go home with our money right here on the show. So why not go to the comment section and try to win the sum of 5,000 naira with 5 predictions correct from the UEFA Champions League. Let's move away from that. Yesterday, Manchester United picked up the victory against Wolverhampton Wanderers, 4-1. And something about when people were talking, if Manchester United cannot pick up this victory, then maybe Ruben Amorim and the players should finally leave the team. But there they have it. I picked up a victory against the Wolverhampton Wanderers, who are yet to win this season.
Well, I think they were condemned to win this particular one again against Wolves. Wolves are still on 2 points all season. I think that's one of the most shambolic kind of results you would have gathered at this stage of the season. The worst team in the history of the EPL all through the season was, I think that was Derby County. I'm trying to remember the year. They gathered just 12 points all through the season. But with the way things are going for Wolverhampton Wanderers, it just beats that record. And that's a negative record to actually fight for. For Manchester United, yes, they scored the first goal. That was a penalty by Bruno Fernandes. And
a brace for Bruno Fernandes, Brandon Boyman missing out.
And of course, when you look at Wolverhampton Wanderers, they equalized, and then Manchester United has to score more goals to get them out of that mess. So for me, I think I don't think this is enough morale booster for Manchester United to build a momentum, because it was just a game that everyone, even the most timid of all pundits, would have given them all 3 points in this one, and they truly got it. But then I think it stressed them a little bit more, and that is an highlight of how bad the Manchester United team they have been so far this season. So let's see what they can draw out of this going to the next set of games.
All right, so let's look at the table quickly before we wrap up the show. Taking a look at the FA Cup third round draw. There you have it. Arsenal, Samson Balogun, just 2 points
ahead of Manchester
Talk
City.
to me about this Arsenal team. Are they about to bottle it again this season?
It's not a question of are they about to bottle it. They have bottled it already. They were 6 points. At the point they were 6 points ahead, and in the space of 2 games, they lost how many points? That was they lost 1, they drew 1. That's 5 points thrown away. So if you check that now, you would know how badly they have performed so far. And people are not they are just talking about Manchester City. How about Aston Villa? That is closely behind Manchester City on 30 points, and that's just
3 points.
1 point behind Manchester City and 3 points behind Arsenal. So Aston Villa actually reduced the 6 points gap between themselves and Arsenal just by defeating them over the weekend. I mean, if you want to win the league, one thing you do for yourself is to take the points away from your rivals, and that's what Aston Villa has been able to do. If they play the next leg and they are able to defeat Arsenal, where would they be? So if it had been, this December period where you can play home now and then the same team the next 1 or 2 games and then you play the return leg, well, you would have known that this could mean disaster or spell disaster for Arsenal. But let's see if they can actually rebuild one way or the other. We're talking about how solid they have been in defense this season, but the moment they had players in that department getting injured, like Gabriel Magalhaes and also William Saliba, we've had Nkampi coming, and we have also had what's his name also coming in center of the park. Mosquera also came on board, but then they have done well, but it is not enough, just like the first center defensive partnership. So I think that's where the problem is coming from. It's not about Arsenal scoring goals anymore now. It's about leaking goals at the back. And if they can seal that, I think they can return back to the kind of games they've been playing before.
All right, we're about to wrap up the show. Let's look at my producer. If you can give me the third round draw of the FA Cup while we wrap up the show. We'll talk about the other leagues tomorrow because of our time. The third round draw of the FA Cup. We can have the third round draw. This is a Serie A, table. There you have it on the screen. Milan are topping that one. If you can also have the third round of the FA Cup draw right there, fantastic draw. You look at the teams who are going to be playing right there in the FA Cup. There you have it. Thank you so much. The Emirates FA Cup draw. Samson Balogun is going to be a fantastic one. But Manchester United fans are worried to see them playing against Brighton of Albion.
Well, I think it's a tough test for Manchester United because compared to some other teams like Chelsea, they will be playing against Charlton Athletic.
Yeah, you have Tottenham against Aston Villa.
Liverpool against Barnsley. So they look like some of their other teams got a simple draw, but it's not going to be simple for some of the teams. Not all teams will get a simple draw. And eventually, whether you get it now, if you go to the next round, definitely it gets tougher and tougher. So Aston Villa too will be playing against Tottenham, so it's going to be a tough test for both teams. So I still think that it's not quite easy. Even Newcastle United will play against Bournemouth. So for some teams it's difficult. For some teams it's a piece of cake. But then the rating and the peering also has to do with performance in the last edition. So some of them are seeded, and then so that's the current situation. But we still hope that a team like Manchester United should be able to get a result against Brighton and Hove Albion.
All right, we're wrapping up the show, and I say big thank you to everyone that logged in with us right here on Dominion Sport, Dominion Television channel of choice. A big thank you. We're going to leave you with some highlights from the game between Eyimba and Remo Stars, and also you're going to watch the game between Nasarawa United and Shooting Stars. So make sure you stay locked in. A big thank you to the official captain himself. Thank you for always giving us your top-notch analysis. That's all we can take. We're going to see you again tomorrow. Stay blessed, stay connected. Enjoy yourself.